Good afternoon, everyone. This is Marcia Metzger with Parents on the Level. We are so glad to be with you today. Today's topic is K-12 Faith and Foundational Fault Lines. We're going to explore a couple of the things that are coming against our faith foundations in the schools. We know here in America we have freedom of religion, and we also have the freedom as parents, grandparents to raise our children fundamentally in the way we see fit in this nation. And I know everyone since last webinar, we're thinking, wow, the Titanic is turning, and we've got some celebrations to mention. And so I've also added some of that in this webinar because how could you not, right? So we've got a lot to discuss today, so let's jump in. All right. So this is a real popular youth pastor. A lot of people see him on Facebook, and I really want to just take a moment and pause, get a little quieter here as we read through this. Young people will be discipled or educated. They will either be discipled by social media, celebrities, unhealthy ideologies, false beliefs, etc., or they will be or can be discipled by their parents, the church, the gospel, etc. May it be the latter for the sake of a whole generation. I think over the last few months, the last over a year since we have been building this repository of educational webinars, we have seen that an entire generation has been really cultivated in order to hit the streets like you're seeing right now in response to some of Trump's mandates since his election and since his inauguration. So, folks, we've got a lot to pray about in the upcoming days and years. Now, throughout this webinar, you will notice that I am using Christianity as the example to protect worldview and discuss worldview because Christianity is my worldview. I've not hidden that from you at all over the last few months. But if you subscribe to another belief, you can always take these slides that I make them available to you if you want to go out and use any of these slides in a presentation. If you want to use it at your particular belief center or church, you can always use them and insert your own information as you see fit. I don't try to copyright out these things. I want this word to get out because everyone needs to raise their children in the way they see fit. Okay, so that's what I put out here. And my hopes would be that if you don't have a belief system, that if you have questions about mine, feel free to email me because I would love to talk to you about what I believe. So with that, we'll move on. So in K-12, remember, we've always talked about that there's basically a religion in K-12 that's being promoted. And the NEA is the National Education Association. This is the largest teachers union, actually the largest union in America. But in K-12, the promotion is basically from Marxists like Paulo Freire. The educator has the responsibility of not being neutral. See, we've believed a big lie over many decades. I subscribed to it myself. At times, my children were in public schools, that the teachers would not be promoting any kind of a religious value toward my children in any way. We believed that, and we falsely believed that. So, and then we have the greedy publishers that are glad to comply and make money by pushing all of this woke, radical, indoctrinating ideology in our schools. So, what does this say for the future of America, and what does it say for your child's eternity when we're looking at worldview? Listen to this clip by our newly appointed Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. He's written the book Battlefield for the American Mind. I have read it twice, and it's an amazing read. And if you haven't read it yet, it also comes out with Audible. You can get it on Audible, and he reads it. So I highly recommend the book. But listen to what he says real quick, and then we're going to break this down.
Get your kids out of government school systems right now, if you can, if you have any way. Save money, move, get a second job, don't take the vacation, sell the boat, whatever, drive for Uber, figure out what you need to do to get your kid out of the government school system because it's about saving your kid right now. What I want to know is what's being pumped into the minds of those kids. And what you realize when you pull the curtain back over 100 years is the entire pipeline of our education system has been federalized intentionally and taken over not just by like lefties or technocrats or bureaucrats. Everyone you meet through that timeline who's pushing hard on the shoulder on the plow of education is an atheist, a Marxist, or a socialist, or a humanist. A lot of them are humanists.
What's a humanist?
Humanist is basically completely rejects Christianity or faith at all. And so it's all humanity is at the center of good and evil, right and wrong. It's effectively secularism posited as an alternative religion to Christianity. Oh. So it'll find politics as an avenue. And so humanists are often socialists or Marxists or communists alongside being a humanist. But it's the worship of mankind as the highest being, as opposed to God as the highest being. So they're all that's the train of people pushing this educational philosophy. And I used to think it started in the 60s. It actually goes back to the progressive era and even before that. But they very intentionally, the one thing they knew they had to remove from the beginning was God. God had to come out of the schools because God was the immovable object that prevented their utopian schemes. They wanted, if you want to manipulate children, if you want to change the way they think, rewire the relationship of families, you have to get at the God thing because the garden and the sin in the garden is all disrupts those utopian schemes. And so the early progressives, communists, Marxists, very intentionally worked hard in creating systems that slowly but surely removed God. Because if you went into a public school, government school in America in the 1850s or 1870s and 1830s, the Bible's in there, prayers in there, scripture readings in there. It's all in there. So it's a modern court that made all those things unconstitutional based on a misreading of the First Amendment and freedom of religion versus freedom from religion. And the progressives have exploited that. And then the process from there they used patriotism falsely to sort of get rid of God. And then once they built an allegiance to state, and what that was is they replaced basically the cross in the Bible with the flag and a pledge. The original Pledge of Allegiance was written by a socialist minister, and it did not include under God. The Pledge of Allegiance originally didn't include under God. Eisenhower added under God in the 50s when we were fighting the godless communists. So you have a flag and you have a pledge allegiance to the republic. By the way, we're a republic, not a democracy, and our education system pumps democracy down people's throats, and our founders couldn't stand democracy, but that's a whole nother ballgame. The left always changes language. They change language to create an alternate reality, to manipulate human beings into whatever utopian scheme of 15 minutes ago they want to advocate for that increases their power and control. And they saw the government school system as the best entity to do that in. And so they focused and pushed.
So, as you see, that is our defense secretary now. And while I don't uphold any man as perfect, Trump or Pete Hegseth, and they wouldn't uphold themselves as perfect either, they are using their platforms in order to start digging and start flipping the tables on all of this indoctrination. And we're glad of that. Okay. So what he said though, at the end is, remember, he said, they replaced the cross and prayer with a flag and a pledge. Okay. So let's just look at what we're talking about now. Have we not in the last few, I can't tell you how many of my webinars we've had these things in it. I visit this intentionally. We've had a flag, right? You see the former Secretary of Education wearing the lapel, his flag. We have a flag, yeah. And we also have a pledge. I've gone over this pledge until I am so sick of talking about it. And that's the doctrinal statement for DEI in K-12 schools, folks. This right here is your screenshot. This will be available for you to promote on your websites, on your social media. All of this you can use. You can put your name on it. I don't care. Just get this message out because this right here is what Pete Hegseth is talking about. And I'm glad he's our defense secretary and that he knows about this because the generations to come, that's what they tested our resolve lately, folks. In the last 4 years, they tested our resolve and they saw they were almost there. We only have a little bit of time to get this turned around. We can't rest and think that this White House is going to have it all together. They've got the rest of the world to fight too. We have to keep pushing this information out. So the uphill climb begins, and it's not a slope, it's a straight up pick and axe uphill climb. Absolutely, it is. So we're looking at the fact that Trump has declared that indoctrination must stop in K 12, and he's presenting more options for education. This is great news. I am thrilled about all of these things. This one right here is talking more about school choice. Taking money from the government, though, can be risky for homeschool families. And I'm sure we'll be talking about that in a couple of months coming up because I've got a lot of ideas and I've got a lot of good people that have done a lot of research on school choice. And I have people that are for it and I have people that I know that are against it. And I'm really wanting to talk about that to be able to give more insight to those that listen to these webinars as well. So then this one, ending radical indoctrination in K-12 schooling, is another great thing. And it's a great start. And that's what you have to look at it. It's a great start. So let's go through this. So does that mean that K-12 schools will become safe in regard to family worldview? No, no. Family worldview's got its hand out there saying no. It's hard to rebuild trust. And when you think of what they've tried to do and how many parents were absolutely undermined to the point of losing relationship with their child and losing their child to transgenderism, that's the education system that we've had. Can we trust that? No, we're in a post-trust era, not just with that, but with a lot of other things. So if you educate your child in the state schools, and that's really what we ought to call them, the state schools, because they are totally aligned with statism. Now it's coming around, and we've got some great strides in the right direction, but we're still there. And this is going to take a while to get this out. So, but what is a person risking, especially if you have a Christian worldview or any worldview you regard as sacred? You're risking their academics, safety, physical safety. We've had all kind of crazy stuff going on in schools, from shootings to everything else. The mental health with social and emotional learning and the MTSS systems, physical health, if they gave them something against your will. I mean, y'all keep in mind, I speak to every state here on these webinars. I have people that listen in California. So we know that these things are going on with physical health. They could be giving them either vaccines without parental approval or puberty blockers. You could lose your relationship with your child because we've seen how they're turning children against their parents. I've shown you the little girl from South Carolina and the little girl from Georgia that were out talking against their families. And then also, folks, let's just go ahead and call out the elephant in the room. This is impacting your child's eternity. So there's the risk for you, and that's for you to weigh out. And I have every heartfelt emotion for every single parent as they try to navigate. And we've got some resources to refer you to, and you can always contact us as well, and we'll be glad to help you, pray with you, whatever you need. All right, so in these plans, President Trump has given a 90-day period for a strategy from these various committees that are working on these executive orders. So April 28th, we're going to have to really tune in and find out what they're going to present. Here's part of the one on the ending indoctrination strategy. You'll see these red arrows, and it's just talking about the first one is the 90-day clause that I was going to give you. And then on section where it says B, the second arrow, the ending indoctrination strategy submitted under subsection A of this section shall contain a summary and analysis of the following. All federal funding sources and streams, including grants or contracts that directly or indirectly support or subsidize the instruction, advancement, or promotion of gender ideology or discriminatory equity ideology. Hallelujah. A, in K-12 curriculum, instruction, programs, or activities, or B, in K-12 teacher education, certification, licensing, employment, or training. So I want them to add the counselors to this. I think there's a lot of input that we can provide. So if any of you have legislative connections, these are some of the things, discuss this with them. Also, interference with a parent's federal statutory right to inform regarding school curriculum, records, physical exams, surveys, and other matters under the PPRA or FERPA or violation of Title 6 or 9. 6 being civil rights, 9 being the, everybody knows what Title 9 is, about women's sports and sexuality and all of that. And that's where they're trying to expand the gender identity information as well. So also skip down here where it talks about unlawfully practicing medicine. We're talking about how they're doing these classes in social emotional learning, group therapy. These teachers are not licensed to do this, but also we're talking about how they're trying to socially transition, which is a medical practice thing. So there's so much they have to drill into, but we have to let them know it's even deeper than this. So we have to just keep going with that. All right, so let's go. Now, Linda McMahon is the nominee for Secretary of Education. The basic thing I think is hilarious about this, I'm scratching my head on her a little bit, and I'll probably revisit this with you later on because I want to make sure of some of the things that I'm reading before I discuss them openly. I like to check for sure because I've really spent more time on her deputy secretary than her. But she at one time led the World Wrestling Entertainment Corporation. I think she still owns a lot in it. And I mean, folks, this woman is even there letting the wrestlers body slam her. I'm like, wait, what? I don't understand it all the way. But from my understanding, she is a very tough businesswoman. She's been on state boards of education, and she is a huge advocate of local control, which is a huge plus for me. So I will drill into a little bit more about her and talk with you again about her later on. But, you know, I'm going to trust that Trump has this headed in the right way. I'm just watching and waiting on that one. But her deputy secretary of education, I flat out am against, just flat out all the way through. She was a DEI hire basically for the state of Tennessee, as you'll see in a clip I have on the next slide. In Texas, she hired the Advocates for Youth president for sex ed, those horrible radical sex education videos. And she uses SECUS standards, which is the National Sexuality Education Standards, which are comprehensive sex ed, and they're radical and woke. There's several articles about Penny Schwinn. People are not down for this choice at all. Just in 2019, she was totally enmeshed with people that we expose on these webinars. So I like I say, I think I could do an entire webinar on her and her global reach with sex education through some of these people. It would be global. Some of the people that she chose in Texas, this would be crazy for us. So anyway, this is what the news release when University of Florida, hired her as their lead instructor or professor, department head for K-12 education. It says here, Dr. Schwinn was not only the youngest education commissioner in modern Tennessee history, but was also the first person of color and the first woman of color to serve in the role. Folks, you know, everything that everybody was getting their little check marks with their DEI hires. So, I find all of this just to be just par for the course. Look through it. But really, the next things are what really floor me. These were her choices when she was over education in Texas. Her choice for Texas social and emotional learning was straight from Castle. And this particular woman here, if you look at the description of what all she has done, My goodness, she's built out the strategies for Castle um, all the way through. Just read her LinkedIn. You need to build your own LinkedIn account so you can get in there and look at different operatives in the school systems. Because, I mean, it's like a cult following. There she is with her pronouns. So she's down for all of that. And now she's the chief executive officer at Mind Up Social and Emotional Learning. So there you go with her. You can read more. I don't want to take too much more time. But she in Texas, like I said, she picked Deborah Hauser as her sex education liaison for the state. And so that's all of those horrible Amaze videos. But not only that, look at this particular video or this particular thing that I have up here, prison culture on Blue Sky. Again, that's another place you should get an account, Blue Sky. That's all the people that hated what Elon Musk did with X went to Blue Sky. So this is where you can find out a lot of what they're doing. You know, when you think about what's going on with our situation with immigration and all, and all of the stuff with the indoctrination in the schools, they are, you know, Hakeem Jeffries called for people to get out in the streets. This is how they're doing it. This is where these little culture warriors are coming from through these programs in the schools. And when they grow out into the colleges, they grow up and they go to college, they can call these people to act out. Isn't that interesting? That's what our school systems, we're paying these schools to turn our kids against us. This is the Rainbow Revolution, and they mean for it to be global. So there you go. There you go. All right. So on the next, we had the nation's report card just dropped, folks. You saw all of that. So I just want to show you this is their homepage where you can go and you can find out just how your school scored. But you're going to have to dig to find a lot of common sense examples because they word it as such to make it look better for them when it's really absolutely dismal. So the cost, here it is in a nutshell. The costs have gone up and the scores have gone down. We're at an average of educating our students at $16,700 per pupil. How many books and notebooks and chalkboards do you think you could buy for that are static, secured, and you don't need a bunch of data analysts and mental health coaches and a deep state like we've explored so many times? Folks, this is radical. This is radical. And for America, this has to stop. This has to change. All right. So anyway, 56% increase in spending since 2013. 2013. And remember, that's when I did that Edgenuity series, that's when they changed the name of Edgenuity from E2020 to Edgenuity. They changed their name because they knew what was coming in 2020. Yeah, this has been planned a long time ago. All right, so remember we went over this last month. I just wanted to revisit it. SEL and the $1 billion lie. Our suicide rates have increased by more than 8% annually. So social emotional learning is coming against our worldview to get back to our subject in a way that's unprecedented. We've gone over this screen before in previous webinars. I want to visit it in case this is the first time some of the people are on here. But our worldview, Christian versus Marxist or humanist or any of the ists or isms that you just heard Pete Hegseth talk about, you know, we're looking at lifelong learners following the state versus critical thinkers that are independent and free. What did we have signed way back when our nation started? The Declaration of what? Independence. We want people that love our country, and independently know how to defend it and stand on the truth. That's what the traditional family brings and the worldview of where our country originated. So, folks, this is the difference. You've got moral absolutes versus moral relativism. You've got reality and facts versus feelings and propaganda. You can just see all of this. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. So there you go. Family worldview versus the castle worldview. And that's what we call the castle doctrine. Please go to parentsonthelevel.com webinars and watch the castle doctrine webinar series if you've not. It's a 3-part series. School time versus home time. Let's consider this. We know it's a no-brainer that schools get far more time to mold children than parents do. So will a 1 hour week offset what K-12 puts in the hearts and minds of our children? Let that sink in. Will 1 hour a week do it? Or do you have a family altar where you in the evenings maybe bring your children around God's word or whatever your belief system is? What do we invest? How are we offsetting all of this coming against our children? And also all the devices and all the flash and the flare and the fast-paced life. How are we zeroing in and meditating on scripture or, whatever you choose? This is where I'm talking about. The schools are bringing the cultural revolution, and that revolution is against us. It will be against us. There's tough questions to ask, and I'm not meaning to insult people with this graphic, but we judge everything that we look at. We make a judgment. We don't even realize we're making a judgment. If you're making a choice, you're making a judgment. There's a judgment call. Is this healthy? Is this good or is it not? Is this going to hurt me or is this going to help me? Will this build my life or tear it down? There's tough questions that your children want to ask. When you say love is love, well, what about the, pedophile? What about those that are into bestiality? Is that the same? Folks, I mean, these are horrible things to talk about, but you've got to look at it. Water is water. Doesn't matter where it comes from. Folks, there's a lot of things that we have to consider. What is moral versus what is immoral? And this is where the conundrum is with the schools. When you start bringing in moral concepts and calling them by the word diverse instead of moral, you're trying to overwrite morality with diverse. That's not going to cut it with someone that's committed to their worldview. Those that really love the Lord and know the Lord, they're not going to fall for this. You've got to get in the Word and understand what He says. There's a lot of tough questions here that you might want to ask yourself as a Christian or whatever belief you subscribe to. You need to make your own screen for this. So the list is endless. Kids have questions. They need to be discipled in the sacred beliefs of their family worldview. And we have to be intentional. And remember, truth is not inclusive, it's exclusive. What does it exclude? Everything that's in error. So the current educational foundations, let's just visit those for a moment here. Remember Castle's foundation? It's in the New Age. It's even darker than that if you really want to go there. And I can show you that probably down the road. I don't want to take too much time with it right now, but Castle's foundation, it's the beliefs are really into secular humanism. Sex Education's foundation. Okay, we've got sex ed for social change. And when we see social, we know to say socialist. This is for socialism. This is to change. Planned Parenthood and SECUS are hand in hand promoting all of this information in the schools. They want to, like, they've subverted or circumvented the laws in order to bring these lessons through social and emotional learning lessons. And it's a fact. I've found them there myself. Now, this is a copy of the Wayback Machine. I did a screenshot of this to show you for SECUS. An organization is corrupt when people are constantly archiving it to prove what these people are doing. If you've never looked at the secus.org page and just go in there and look at it and what they promote, they have standards that they have put out to all these schools to adopt for sex education that carry the gender identity ideologies and all. SECUS will have to be shut down and banned from the schools under the regulations that Trump is putting out in these executive orders. So they're going to fight back, and they're the ones with these little culture warriors. You better believe they're going to fight back. Watch this real quick.
The thing I want to leave you with is this. Whether you choose to be sexually active or not, the choice is ultimately entirely up to you. Your body is yours and yours alone. Only you have complete autonomy over your person. If you choose to be abstinent, that's great. If you choose to have sex and or use birth control, that's also great. As long as you're being safe, respectful, and above all, consensual, you're good. Either way, you are a human being, and as such, you are always deserving of rights, dignity, and respect. And never let anybody tell you or make you feel or think otherwise. Thanks very much for being part of the lesson. Take care and keep on learning.
Did he just mow down your parental rights and worldview? Folks, this is the way the lessons are. I'm sorry that wasn't very loud for you, but hopefully you were able to turn it up and listen. But that is the worldview promoted in the schools, and that came straight out of Edgenuity. The ones that happened to be ready in 2020 that took the lion's share of the lessons across America. Yeah, that was a health class. I guarantee you it didn't get brought in through a health advisory council and vetted in most areas. I would think it probably wasn't. I know it wasn't in the place that I found it because I attended a lot of the health advisory classes and stuff with those people, or I got a report and did a presentation for them in the particular county. I found it in Colquitt County, Georgia. So, folks, I'm just going to let you know our worldview foundations, of course, they're being rocked, and we all know it, and that's the reason we do these webinars. But when you take sex education all the way back to its darkest roots, sex education comes from Alfred Kinsey. This institute is alive and well at Indiana University. And this is the perverted pedophile that brought about so many of the egregious realignments with our laws, where perpetrators of sexual crime don't get nearly the punishment that they used to would get. So we need to revisit the laws that he impacted, because he's the man that promotes that children are sexual from birth. This is the famous Table 34 that shows where they were charting how many orgasms babies and small children were having under the absolute just horrible situations with these pedophiles. The pedophiles were conducting these experiments on children and charting them for him. And at the time, when this book came out in 1948, it rocked the world, and this foundation began to crumble. Common decency in our land. This right here is one of the most woeful things that's going on in our schools. It is the foundation for SECUS and Planned Parenthood, ETR publishers, yeah, all of them. Amaze, Advocates for Youth, all of them. So then we've also talked about how DEI is in every publisher's foundation, and we've talked about Savvis and their connection with Pearson, and Pearson's connection with being the champion for the gender spectrum. Folks, this is the foundation of the public school system. And here is a Christian worldview foundation, and it's Jesus Christ. And this particular moment, I just want to share with you, when you look at the different things that we would disciple and teach to our children regarding holiness, purity, holy matrimony, marriage defined as God defines it, truth, sanctification, regeneration, transformation, all of these words, your identity even, all of these have spiritual connotations to the Christian. And when the school tries to override and teach what is and isn't in regard to these definitions, that's not going to fly with a Christian parent, one that truly knows what being a Christian is. So the word tells us, God's word tells us, make every effort to live in peace with everyone and to be holy. So it's not just being peaceful with everyone and just, going along to get along. No, he says, live in peace with everyone and be holy. To be holy is to be without sin. We have to know what sin is in order to know what holiness means. So you have to get in the word. You have to teach your children God's word, because it says without holiness, no one will see the Lord. The true Christian knows that it is the Lord that outfits us with righteousness. So folks, we have a long way to go, and parents, Christian parents, you have a lot to consider, and my heart goes out to you. And what Pete Hegseth said, I hope that you'll watch this video over again and just let it sink in. Share this, grandparents, with your children, your adult children, and they'll see it for themselves. Because truly, does this mix? Does your worldview truly mix, or is it like oil and water where it won't? So, SEL, to wrap this all up, really, it's socialist emotional learning. And it gets an F on its report card. And if you take SEL and you add that F to it, what do you get? You get self. And self is the God of humanists. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. Proverbs 14:12. And all I can say is choose wisely. So I bring this message to you with a full heart of love for everyone that's listening. And I hope that you'll understand the wisdom in making a choice. And sometimes you just need to be educated about what your choices are. And Alex Newman began this organization quite some time ago. It is a beautiful organization, Public School Exit. There's so many resources to help you on your journey to understand how to educate your children apart from state schools. Also, I have all kind of resources for you, and there's my email address, parentsonthelevel@gmail.com. Sometimes it might take me a little while to get to you, but don't give up. I'll get to you. So give me your word, give me your feedback on this. Let me know exactly, uh, I mean, anything you want to ask me about the schools, if I know about it, I'll share. I don't know everything, but I do know this. I care about kids. I care about their eternity. And if they're in a public school, I'm going to tell you only the most dedicated parents that disciple their children are going to have any kind of a remote chance of getting their child through K through 12 in a state school without being unscathed. So next month we have artificial intelligence, AI, the next frontier in K-12, which is eye-opening, I assure you. So that's what we're working on for next month already. So I hope that you will put it on your calendar to tune in. And a special thanks to Ohio, Protect Ohio Children, Ohio Values Voters, the White House, Getty Images, Courage is a Habit, Public School Exit, and please come to Parents on the Level and watch the rest of our webinars. Can you believe I finished in 40 minutes? Not even 37 minutes, y'all? I want to hear your questions. Anybody have questions or comments? Or what do you think about how we can, as a group of warriors, come together and organize and help one another and promote one another to help, Trump get this turned around? Because we only have 2 years for the most part because midterms are coming.
Marcia, we have a question about the Hegseth clip. Is it possible for the group to have just the clip linked? Is the question here.
Yeah, I tell you what, if you go on my Parents on the Level Facebook page, it's already by itself. So, and not only that, go on my Parents on the Level Twitter account, X account. I keep saying Twitter. Go to my X account, Parents on the Level, and you'll see a lot of different things that you can use as well. Not to mention my Rumble channel. I have a lot of videos there. And when you go to Rumble, just put in Parents on the Level with no spaces. That's how you'll find my videos there. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Kind of quiet today.
Just discussion?
Okay, here's one. We can always use additional help with step-by-step process for evaluating our local schools and support when we need it. POC has been a help to me already.
Yay. That's great. And not only that, just knowing you can contact us if you run into something. I talk with school board members quite a bit. So especially if you've got school board members that are trying to learn about these systems, yeah, send them my way. I'd be glad to discuss things with them. Any others? We might just have a shorter time this month.
One of the things that I've been noticing is that there have been an increase of grassroots Moms for Liberty and other groups forming because people are realizing that they need to get involved at a local level, and I hope that that will continue. We
That's
need,
exactly it. That's exactly because that's what Parents on the Level is all about, on the level, at the level. And this is what we're here for, is to teach you. So if and here's the other thing, we've got to remember we're all in this together. Promote one another, promote each other, and send people to the videos. Send people to, you know, different people have great, resources. I mean, I'm always sharing about, Alex Newman's group and Courage is a Habit. Moms for Liberty has some great stuff out. Folks, we have just got to help one another get this message out, get these teams in every school district so we can make these people face off with us because that's where you're going to be really most effective.
Marcia, the question comes through, how can we advocate for an alternative to the Deputy Secretary of Education?
Share, share, share. Share about it and call Washington, call the Department of Education office. Um, just share everywhere. If you're connected with anyone, a school board member that knows somebody that knows somebody, I know Dr. Carol Schwain, she's been talking about it, right? And I mean, there's several people that are pushing back against that because that one there is a no-go. I know Eagle Forum in Tennessee is exposing these people. Bobby Petray is my aunt, and so I know she's exposing them. So
Here we have Patty from Tennessee. Thank you so much, Marcia and Diane. I'm from Tennessee and agree with you that Penny Schwinn is a big problem wherever she goes. She allowed wit and wisdom into Tennessee schools, and it is CRT and other dark matter.
yeah. Yeah, for her to promote people from Castle the way she did in Texas, yeah, she's not good for us.
Okay, we have an anonymous attendee. Have you been invited to talk to family court professionals?
I have been invited to talk with, different attorneys and things like that to help educate, but I've not really been in the court system yet, but I am not opposed to going. I would be glad to go or to Zoom in, actually, is what I prefer. Any others?
If Penny Schwinn has to be confirmed by the Senate, it would make sense to reach out to Senators Marino and Husted in Ohio and ask for her to not be confirmed. That's a very good point.
Yep. Call your senators, always call your senators. That's just the first go-to. Call your senator, call your statesman, get these people involved. Get on X and tag them. Expose, share, expose, make it trend on Twitter. X, whatever. Any others?
You
I'm
know,
glad that struck a nerve.
yeah, I think Marcia, if you could put on Parents on the Level a very effective communication around Patty Schwinn, Penny Schwinn, and why she needs to be rejected, we could get that disseminated all over social media and emails, etc. If you could put that out there, just like you said about advocates for youth and Castle, and give people some really strong statements to disseminate, we can get that around.
Okay. All right. I think I did. I may have just put it on X. I think I put it on Facebook too. But
Okay,
anyway, I'll check that out and make sure that that happens too.
thank you.
Mhm.
Do you think Christian schools and homeschooling may get funded in the future by taxpayers?
I do believe they are working to do that, folks, and I follow Alex Newman a lot on what he talks about with school choice. Alex Newman wrote Crimes of the Educators and Indoctrinating Our Children to Death, two of his books about education. And he's the one that has the public school exit website that I shared with you earlier. I've been on his shows and some of his podcasts. And folks, I would just say this. He thinks because he also looks at the more of the global documents too, in regard to education and some of these people that are trying to reach in and control America, which I really believe Trump's going to do something to really change that. But we never know what's down the road, what might happen down the road. Um, so their warning to us is that if we take that money in our homeschools, that there might be a potential for the future to reach in and regulate and control our schools. And so if we're down for taking that money, we also take their regulation. So I would just give it a little time to see what they come up with after April 28th. Follow Alex Newman with the New American and Liberty Sentinel. Those are his two publications. He's got an X account. He's great on X. But yeah, I would follow some of the things he's talking about and see what he says.
Okay, and Patty has an editorial she can send to us with an overview of all of the bad decisions she made in Tennessee. Also, what about reaching out to Ohio's Vance? Maybe he can talk to Trump.
Yep.
That's another good one. And then we have the comment school choice. You know, I just want to make a comment about the school choice. I'm all for the school choice, but one of the things that we cannot allow is for, you know, we saw this with the sex ed programs, teaching abstinence and then letting Planned Parenthood teach their horrific Planned Parenthood curriculum. We just really have to push back hard that we don't allow the government to say yes to school choice and also yes to social emotional learning castle. It's it's just a bad situation to have in our country that people would be learning these wicked things and then also having school choice because what happens is it bleeds right into the Christian schools and it bleeds into the the chartered schools. So we got to keep fighting for the kids on that.
That's right.
Do
The
you
other thing
see? Go ahead, Marcia.
The other thing is to, folks, be looking for, I have a 19-minute video that says SEL equals DEI because it does. And I've proven it in there in a very powerful way. Please get that, share it. If you're in our network with Protect Child Health Coalition, we've already shared it in our social media apps with you guys. Guys, that one right there, if you can share that a lot, that would help. And it's only a 19-minute video and it tells legislators and it shows them how it's working. And it shows them too how they're trying to turn our kids into a generation of learners. And this could possibly happen beyond Trump, even still. Like I say, they just tested our resolve. So we've got a lot of work to do. So make sure that that one gets shared a lot. Okay.
Do you foresee more comprehensive K through 12 audits on the horizon?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then are there any links in any of this with the League of Women Voters?
Don't no, I've not used any of their information. Why are they cooking some stuff up for us? I'll be glad to anytime you ever see something like that you want me to look into and share. I love to promote other people that are working alongside with us.
Patty's making the connection between taking money for vouchers with they will also have to take the state standardized testing, which will cover public school curriculum that we don't want the kids to be subjected to and indoctrinated with.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's going to take a while for them to weed all this stuff out if they can do it, if they can get it done. Folks, you have people in every school district that are going to start redesigning and renaming this stuff. You know, while you might be able to take away some publishing companies right now and set them back, believe me, they've got plans to get it back in there and they've got the money to do it. They've got their operatives in place. One of the main people, one of the main organizations we need to get out of our schools are all of these psychologists and American School Counselor Association operatives, because we've shown you videos. If you go to the American School Counselor Association Rumble channel, you will see the expose that Courage is a Habit did. It's just right there in their name for their little copyright purposes. So it's right there for everyone to see how committed these people are to taking our kids into a future of Marxism and socialism.
Okay, we have an Ohio State Representative, Jody Salvo, on this meeting, and she'd like to ask a question. Go right ahead, Jody. You want to? I don't think there's a way for her to.
And she just has to write it. Type
Yeah,
it in.
you have to type it in the Q&A, Jody. But we can, not sure. Maybe we'll need to call her, Marcia.
Sure. All right.
Okay. I think that's the last one for today.
All right. Well, folks, this has been just, I liked having this time. And, you know, if you think of something else to ask afterward, and especially if you know of anyone to help us get this information out to, just go ahead and do it. Just go ahead and share it. This will be up as soon as she processes it. I will get it posted on parentsonthelevel.com/webinars. You can also always find them on the Protect Ohio Children YouTube channel. So that's the two places you pick these up. And we really are excited about how we can help come to the table with all of these people that are working to get this Titanic turned around before it hits another iceberg. Actually, the public school system right now in its state, like Pete Hegseth was saying, it's time to get our kids out. So call us, let us know what we can do to help, and God bless you. We'll see you on March 3rd when we talk about artificial intelligence in the schools. So come back and see us, and make sure you look for my other video that's coming out. It's already on the Protect Ohio Children channel. Go ahead and zoom over to that right now on the Protect Ohio Children YouTube page and look at that short 19-minute video while you wait for this one to process. All right. Have a great day, folks.
Thank you.